Hi, this is Tyler Albright from Steelhead Concrete Construction LLC. I'm out here in Talent, Oregon, and I just built Stonehenge. Well, the beginning of Stonehenge started with me interacting with a client while I was working on the Talent skate park. A customer was walking by, going to the post office, and he saw my rock wall and it caught his attention, and we got to know each other. I came out here, brought my mini excavator, and then I mapped out my area where we were thinking about putting Stonehenge, and I pretty much took a stake and ran a 30-foot radius and carved out like a round shape we're gonna excavate out for our footings. And then once I had that marked out, I just got in with my excavator, started digging out a big old trench until I got to where I was happy with it. And then we started setting forms. We set 2 foot thick, 4 foot by 4 foot square foundations that all were connected with grade beams. Since it was being a radius curve, we want everything to be monolithic and not separate. So we poured these grade beams in between all our footings to key everything in. Once we poured the concrete and the concrete cured for about a week, we then initially started working with our Geofoam. I ordered this from one of my local suppliers in Mason Supply in Medford, Oregon. We got 8 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot. They call them EPS, expanded polystyrene foam, I believe. It's for what a lot of artists and creators for movie sets use. We took what we call a hot wire tool, and it's a tool that you plug into power source and it heats up a wire, and you can actually cut the foam into any shape you want. And with the help of my buddy Reed from Coyote Custom Concrete, we were able to get a rough cutout shape of these rocks that I had envisioned. Once we had those made, I took a propane torch, which was a trick that I thought of, and we had some upright number 4 rebar that we heated up with the propane torch until it was red hot, and we picked up the foam blocks and very quickly slid them right on top of the hot rebar, and it worked perfect. They slid right down, started locking themselves in already. We had bonded it with the adhesive in the bottom to the concrete, and after that we were able to start wrapping it with some steel, and then we pretty much wrapped the whole foam structure with the steel. And then after the steel was all done, we had a whole process of doing like a 3-layer coat to get to the final finished product of what Stonehenge is looking like right now. The first coat we had to do is like a slurry coat, and pretty much we're pouring kind of wetted up mix that we could smear in between the steel mesh and the foam. Once we had all that, it took us a couple days just to get the slurry coat covered on everything. Once we had that done, we let it dry for a couple days, and then we began putting our second layer, which was to pretty much encase the rebar and the pencil rods and any extra steel that was still exposed. And so we made a special mix where we had glass fibers and glue and a mortar mix that we built up with that, and then we got the whole cage completely encased in concrete at that point. And then after that, we started our 3rd layer, and this is where things got real fun. Admixture from Walt Tools, and so we got this product called Tru Pac X. The really cool thing about the Tru Pac is that it had like super micro little glass fibers in it and a lot of polymers and binders that really, once you mixed it up, you got like this perfect consistency, almost like a pizza dough or something or peanut butter you describe it as. And once you got that good consistency, we'd start stacking it up on the wall, and as I'm throwing up the material, I'm kind of creating the contours and the shapes of the rocks. Once we got all that stacked up, we go through with our finish trowels and we smooth out and kind of create the details, cutting out little notches and holes and the texture. We then start stamping it. I take a variety of powdered antiquing release. It's like a color agent for stamping concrete, and so we'd throw it in kind of randomness, and also how rocks are like in the deeper and like eroded areas is going to be darker. After that, project still was not done. I then began going through with a stain, True Tint, which is another product from Walt Tools. I think I had 7 different colors, but you build it up in layers, kind of like you're painting, but this is more like a tint, so you're kind of just slowly bringing out more and more details out of the stone as you add more. After the staining was all done, I got to start working on the last part here today, and that was creating like a faux moss. And there's a guy that I worked with last year, and his name's Jose from Roca Concrete. I think he's out of Sacramento. but he's a rock sculptor artist, and he came up with a technique to make this moss, which I think is pretty neat. I took a white thin set and mixed it with Zep, which is like a Zep spill absorber. It's kind of like this spongy, almost foamy stuff, and mixed that with some color, like a lichen color, and I just started kind of throwing it up into the crevices and the deep cracks of Stonehenge, and that was just to try and kind of add this more aged, ancient look, and I think it came out really cool. I put all the moss kind of on the north facing part of the sculpture, so only part of it has the moss on it and the rest of it's bare, which I think looks pretty cool. So in order to prepare for this job, I mean, I knew what Stonehenge was, but I didn't actually know what Stonehenge truly looked like. I definitely spent multiple evenings researching it and really looking at the uprights and the size of them, and how most of them had like a thicker base and they kind of tapered up as they went up. Now something that I wanted to make sure that I replicated, because I felt like that was really important to try and mimic Stonehenge itself. The hardest challenge on this project was when we were pouring the concrete and throwing it overhead underneath the lentils. That was like the most challenging part, because it's a lot more difficult to get the concrete to stick up there and stay, because gravity's kind of fighting you. Hey, thanks for coming out and checking out Stonehenge with me. I'm Tyler Albright. I'm the owner of Steelhead Concrete Construction LLC. I'm going to be starting my next project in Medford, Oregon at the Bear Creek Skate Park. If you're interested in checking out, stop on by and say hi. Thanks for stopping by.